As the gentleman from Rhode Island, Mr. Amo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, while I appreciate the focus on Turkey, I think this subcommittee on Europe should be discussing the most dire threat to European security. That's Russia's unlawful invasion of Ukraine. That's right, Russia. And again, so we align on some facts, it was Russia that invaded Ukraine and launched an unprovoked war. It is an aggressive Russia that poses one of the greatest threats to Europe's freedoms, stability, and democratic values. It's Russia who now believes the visions, the visions of our two nations are aligned. So instead of having a hearing to address the threat posed by Vladimir Putin, this committee is looking the other way, literally. No one should choose to sit back and let President Trump parrot Kremlin propaganda and blow up our European relationships. Make no mistake, the scene caused by the president and vice president at the White House last Friday was unnerving. It was, in my opinion, disgraceful. Ukrainians are dying every day to defend democracy, yet our colleagues were more concerned about President Zelensky and the flattering that he should have done of President Trump and his wardrobe than the existential war that he's fighting. So unlike my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, I cannot stay silent while our president sides with a dictator over our allies. Abandoning our allies, refusing to send them aid, belittling leaders in public does not make the United States stronger. It makes us weaker. It is clear that America First is rapidly turning into Putin First and America alone. Instead of leading by example, our president is siding with North Korea and Iran at the United Nations, voting to protect Russia. This is not the company we want to keep. Now, I recognize that Turkey is the subject of today's hearing, a NATO member that has offered to host peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. Turkey has also pushed back against false Russian claims to Ukrainian land. But while Turkey supports sovereign territory in Ukraine, they fail to support it in their own backyard, in countries like Armenia. In 2023, Turkey provided material support for Azerbaijan's brutal campaign of ethnic cleansing in Nagorno-Karabakh, the ancestral home of the Armenian people. The United States supports Armenia. We provided over $57 million in foreign assistance to Armenia last year, including humanitarian assistance for refugees from Nagorno-Karabakh. But this assistance was halted by President Trump's illegal foreign aid freeze. It is yet another example of Trump abandoning an ally, all while Turkey has reportedly discussed establishing a corridor to connect with Azerbaijan across Armenia's sovereign territory. So I know that Mr. Costa touched on this a bit, but I want to go a little bit deeper. Ms. Wallander, what steps can the United States take to push back on Turkey's support of Azerbaijan's aggression against Armenia? And how can the United States dissuade Turkey and Azerbaijan from encroaching on Armenia's sovereignty with a ground transport corridor?
Thank you so much, Congressman. I agree with you that Turkey has played a negative role in the last couple of years on this conflict, and it is difficult to imagine that Azerbaijan would come to the table with a reasonable and equitable and just resolution without Turkey's positive influence. The specifics could be to look at specific arms transfers that contributed to the loss of life and the expulsion of those tens of thousands of Armenians from that region. It also could look at possible sanctions on Turkish relations with Russia in the technology sphere that fuels some of those defense industrial productions. I do think targeted sanctions, if they were used for leverage to push towards diplomacy, could help Turkey to play a constructive role in influencing, in particular, Azerbaijan.
And could you speak a little bit to the ground transport corridor specifically?
I don't have any secret ideas or public ideas of how to succeed in pressing that ground transit corridor. I would appeal to Turkey's principled support of the UN and international law for Ukraine and ask them to consider no less in recognizing the international community's obligation for Armenia to be able to have control of its own territory, to negotiate an acceptable solution to the issues of transport with Azerbaijan, and offer, the kind of the positive influence and example that the Turkish leadership so often seeks.
Thank you. I yield back.